If I think of this semester like a story, it starts in the snow and in the firelight. The flames here crackle softly, throwing gold onto our faces, the same way stories have lit gatherings for centuries. But even before that first project, I had a lens I didn't know I'd keep coming back to. Cohen's idea that the folklore body is a cultural body. Once I saw it, I couldn't unsee it. Every story, tradition, and myth we explored carried the marks of the culture that shaped it. Sometimes that body was human, sometimes monstrous, sometimes a whole community moving as one. My first stop was Angela Carter's The Werewolf. Picture the hush of falling snow, the bite of cold air in your lungs, a girl in red standing alone, knife glinting in her hand. It's not just a wolf she faces. It's a body reshaped by the fears and values of the time. Carter strips away the old moral of innocence and replaces it with survival. This change reflects the feminist movement of the 1970s, a shift from idealizing feminine vulnerability to valuing agency and self-defense. It was my first clear view of the monster as a mirror, showing back to us the cultural anxieties we'd rather not name. Then the scene warmed. I stepped into the hum of tradition in motion. I could hear the Ogden Music Festival, the scrape of a bow across strings, children's laughter spilling like music of its own, volunteers swapping stories in the shade. It showed me how public traditions function as social glue, weaving together community identity through shared performance and participation. I imagined moonlit reset nights, blankets laid in the grass, under a silver moon, the air still except for the sound of breathing. Traditions like that, even if newly made, can become rituals of belonging, private spaces where cultural values of rest and connection take root. And I remembered Light the World. Porch drop-offs in December, snow crunching underfoot, the quiet thrill of leaving a gift before anyone saw me. That campaign taught me how newer traditions spread when they adapt to people's lives, keeping the core purpose, service, at the center. Each tradition was a cultural body in motion, carrying values forward because people chose to keep showing up for them. From there, the mist rolled in. Rooted in stone took me to the Celtic hills where the land itself seemed to breathe. I saw Cuchulain's body twist in battle frenzy, terrible and magnificent, his roar carrying like wind through the trees. I heard the swans of the children of Lear, voices thin and beautiful, like they could drift across the same night sky above us. These myths carried the Celtic worldview that life, death, honor, and transformation are part of one continuous cycle. They used the body, whether human or animal, as a bridge between the seen and unseen worlds, grounding spiritual belief in the physical form. Signed and seen brought me closer, close enough to see hands telling a story. Comparing Bird of a Different Feather and The Ugly Duckling showed me how different cultures can shape a similar theme, transformation and belonging, to fit their own histories. In my reimagining Free to Be, Ellie's hands stayed in her pockets until the day she stood before her class and signed her story. No voice, no apology. That choice turned her into a cultural body of resistance, preserving deaf identity in a space that pushed her toward assimilation. It showed me how folk tales can act as cultural critique, warning against the erasure of identity while modeling what reclamation looks like. Then came the Great Plains of 1719. In Prey, the ground was damp, the air sharp with pine and smoke, and the predator moved like a shadow stitched from fear. Here, two cultural bodies collided: the invader with its arrogance and high-tech weapons, and Naru carrying the strength and cunning of her Comanche heritage. It wasn't just a survival story. It was a lesson in how folklore, even in a Hollywood action movie, can embody the lived history of resistance against colonization. Stolen Away lifted me high from Manhattan in 1989 to a woman floating out her 12th story window into a waiting craft. Maybe it was an alien ship. Maybe a fake carriage in disguise. Either way, the fear inside it was old. Being taken, replaced, and not believed. The alien here was a modern monster, wearing the same cultural body as changelings from Celtic lore. It showed me how our fears evolve in form but rarely in essence. A reminder that the monster body is a container for ancient human anxieties. And finally, I stood in the soft light of testimony meetings and the darker corners of an old building. The three Nephites walked through both LDS and indigenous traditions as cultural bodies of hope and divine intervention. My ghost story, the girl in the laundry room, whispered a warning in the dark. That heavy silence just before something moves. These stories taught me that folklore doesn't always live in the past. It can walk into the present with us. Pressed hand to hand, voice to voice, shaping how communities see the world and themselves. Now looking back, the map is full. Monsters, heroes, ghosts, traditions, everyday people, all carrying the cultures that made them. Cohan's line, "the folklore body is a cultural body," isn't just theory to me anymore. It's a truth I can't unsee. Every story has a body. Every body has a history. And every history lives on because someone keeps telling it. Through this work, I've learned to identify and define folklore in ways both scholarly and personal, to collect through research and lived experience, and to interpret it across cultures and contexts. I've gotten to see how to classify it, and I've learned when to let it split the categories to find its deeper meaning. Most of all, I've learned that preserving folklore is preserving the bodies it lives in, so they can keep moving, breathing, and connecting, all of us, even here, even right now, with firelight dancing across our faces. If the folklore body is a cultural body, then maybe it's only fair that I add one more to the circle tonight. They say the first moonlit reset night was quiet. Just 5 of us in a field, blankets spread over frost-stiff grass, steam rising from our mugs into the cold. We came for the stillness, to let the weight of the week loosen its grip. But halfway through, I noticed her. She was standing at the far edge of the field, just beyond the tree line. Her dress was simple, white, and caught in the moonlight like water catches a stone. She didn't move, didn't speak, just stood there, looking at us. The others didn't seem to see her, or Maybe they didn't want to, and I didn't call out. Something in me knew that if I did, she might leave, or worse, she might answer. We came back the next month, and she was there again, always just at the edge, always watching. After a while, we stopped pretending not to see her. We'd nod, just a little, in her direction, and I swear on some nights she nodded back. Now it's part of the tradition. Every full moon, we gather in the same field, and she's there. No one knows her name, or what she wants, or if she's even human, but somehow her presence feels like a promise that we're keeping alive something older than any of us, and she's making sure that we do it right.